Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel, and the full multiplayer reveal for Modern Warfare 3 is still set to be on October 5th, and I said I was hoping that they would give us some blog posts, maybe some information between now and then, because that's a long time to wait, and they have done just that. As you guys can see, we are going to take a look at every single OG Modern Warfare 2 map that has been remastered into Modern Warfare 3. Now, one of the big questions about this was how are the maps going to look, but most importantly, how are the maps going to play? Are they going to change different aspects of the map to fit the more modern theme, kind of like they did back in Modern Warfare 2019, where they brought back maps like Backlot from Call of Duty 4 and then just completely bastardized them by adding way more things that the original map did not have, which made the map fundamentally feel incredibly different. Well, we got a blog post to go along with all the images as well as video that we got today, so I'm just going to go ahead and just read this out for you guys while we check out some of the footage. So it says right there in the blog post, quote, "There are places where the metrics of the level are adjusted to fit more modern gameplay, but for the most part, it's going to feel incredibly similar. The biggest changes are in a fidelity sense." They took a lot of time in this blog post to talk about how in Modern Warfare 2, the original one that is, it was kind of difficult to pick your target from a longer range because a lot of the character uniforms blended in with the environment. The lighting was not very good, and apparently the lighting is a lot better now. You're going to be able to see people a lot easier, and the maps themselves are going to be incredibly faithful, but there will be some adjustments, and they've given us examples of that, which I wanted to cover here today. So let's just go ahead and jump right into some of the big changes that are going to be happening, although some of the changes honestly aren't even all that big. So first up, we have a state here. Straight from the blog post, it says, "The lake behind the boathouse is now accessible for wet works. Operators can now maneuver in and under the water and swim out to a platform overlooking the area." When I first read that, I'm like, that sounds terrible. There's like, what kind of a platform are you going to put in the lake? Like, what's even the point of all that? But then I went back and looked at the original Modern Warfare 2. The lake behind the boathouse did indeed have a diving dock, and I think that's what they're talking about when it comes to the platform. So in terms of like actual changes to a state, I mean, there's gonna be a couple of things like trees maybe in different places, but you're gonna be able to swim in the water behind the boathouse and get out to a diving platform. Like, that doesn't really sound like that big of a deal, but it may affect things like search and destroy more than it's going to affect things like team deathmatch or domination. But continuing on here, it also says there is a greater military presence on the estate grounds than there was before. While the original lodge offered a luxurious getaway, this one features intel posted on the wall and a tank sitting on the main road outside. As you guys can see, we have a tank here on the new estate, which looks beautiful, by the way. But the tank is replacing what I believe was an old, like, big SUV that was just sitting there in the middle of the road. So it's kind of the same thing. It's just a different vehicle. And here, they're not going to be perfect side-by-side comparisons, but this is what the loading screen looked like for the original Modern Warfare 2. This was like the map's icon, and we can then compare that to what we have in Modern Warfare 3. As you can see, like, one of the trees is going to be gone in the middle road there, and it's hard to get like a perfect side-by-side comparison because of different resolutions and like the angle at which they took the picture, but still, it looks incredibly faithful. It doesn't look like that many changes are going to happen, and I'm happy for that because the map itself is beautiful in Modern Warfare 3, as are most of the other ones here, including Skid Row. I was so impressed by how Skid Row looks here in these images, and what they've given us in terms of details is the bookshop is now a movie store, the ceiling has been repaired, and the lights are back on for greater visibility when passing through. I actually went through and got you guys some images of what the bookstore was. It was the very middle building, the very bottom floor of the middle building that you would run through. Well, that's now a movie store with the lights turned on so you can actually see better, and the ceiling is repaired, so less smoke and less like sparks and things like that. I mean, that sounds fine, honestly. They also go on to say that there are further lighting improvements to areas like the hallway and the tunnel to ensure the operators are clearly visible against the environment. So all in all, it doesn't sound like they really changed up much. I mean, they're going to be changing around some of the themes of the map. Like, you just look at the outside here. This is the original Skid Row right here, and this is going to be Skid Row in 2023. As you can see, like, cosmetically, aesthetically, there's going to be some differences, but in general, the map appears like it's going to be playing pretty much the same. We're going to have to wait till we actually get our hands on the map to see how certain sight lines are going to play out, or things that you may remember from 2009, whether or not those things are going to work in 2023. We're going to have to wait and see. But moving on here, we have Rust, where they go on to say, "Remember that open pipe jutting out in a corner that many a camper took roost in? It's now been replaced by a small building, keeping the fight out in the open." So this confuses me here. Many parts of this confuse me. So number A, they said camper, not sentinel. That's awesome. Number B, are they talking about this pipe right here? Like this pipe right here in the corner next to where you would sometimes spawn? Like, I think people could climb into that pipe, but it wasn't, it was a non-factor. It was never a factor. And they replaced that with a building to keep the fight out in the open? I'm not sure what that means. Does that mean the pipe itself is just going to be a non-factor entirely, and then there's just going to be a building on the outside of the map, essentially, that you cannot access? Like, basically, get rid of that pipe, just make it a building with a flat wall so no one can even get inside of it, and therefore it just eliminates that. Maybe that's what they're talking about here. That does sound like a fine change, but again, I don't remember that pipe ever really being an issue. I might even be thinking of the wrong pipe, to be honest. Like, let me know in the comments. So I'm messing up on this. Is that the pipe they're talking about? I think it is, but I can't be sure. They also go on to say, be sure to take advantage of Rust's verticality by climbing the center tower and the surrounding containers with greater agility than ever before. We actually saw footage of that on High Rise earlier in the video here. With Modern Warfare 3, it's going to be similar to all the more recent Call of Duty games. You can climb over things that you couldn't climb over back in Modern Warfare 2. I mean, mantling is going to be certainly a thing within this game, and as a result, it's going to be easier to get on top of Rust as compared to what it was previously, where you had to either run up the giant ramp or climb a ladder, for example. So yeah, Rust doesn't sound like they changed up a whole lot either. And then High Rise, this is actually kind of cool if you ask me. I'm interested to hear what you guys think. So when it comes to High Rise, the standard office layout from 2009 has been updated for the new tenant, which is a company whose arcade machines, movie posters, and video game systems profess their love for entertainment. There you go. Going on here, it says, though the occupants are different, both buildings retain their most notorious power positions. So it sounds like on either side of High Rise, instead of it just being a boring generic office building, it's still going to be an office building essentially, but for an entertainment company, which means there's going to be, you know, arcade machines and movie posters and video game systems. Like, it's going to be a more fun theme inside the offices as compared to just, you know, fax machines and telephones and staplers. You know, so that sounds cool to me. Going on here, it says the crane still provides a killer view from the northern building, which means you can still mantle and get on top of the buildings and things like that, while those willing to scale the front of Actibase will be rewarded with an unmatched rooftop position, which means on both sides of this map, one side you can get on the very tippy top and you can get up there and there's an Easter egg involving all the teddy bears. That apparently is still going to be there. You can see that in the image right there, how we have the scaffolding, whatever the hell you call that, where you climb up to get on top of the roof. That is right there, but on the other side of the map, you can still use that to get on top of that building as well, although that is more indoors as compared to being out on top of a roof. That sounds fantastic. It sounds like when it comes to High Rise, yes, there may be some minor metric changes, like in terms of like the width of a hallway or something like that, but in general, it sounds like they just cosmetically improved it and changed around its theme a little bit to make it a bit more interesting. Now, certain aspects of it, I can't quite tell from the image. This is just an example of what I'm talking about when it comes to like them changing how the maps fundamentally play. We have the helicopter pad on High Rise, right? One big aspect of that helicopter pad was if you went up the stairs, you could peek through slightly underneath it and see into the office buildings. That was an incredible power position, and it was one of the parts of the map that if you knew it was there, you could use it to your advantage, and it was something you had to look out for while you were playing on the map. I can't tell from these images if that same line of sight is actually going to be there. I truly hope that it is, but I can't tell from the images. So that's the big question, right? The maps themselves look beautiful. I don't think anyone's going to discredit that. They look freaking phenomenal. In fact, actually, as I'm looking at this right now, I'm going back to High Rise. Look over here on the far left-hand side. You used to be able to boost down there. So what people would do is they would drop down and you could actually walk along like the side of the building and sneak your way across the map. It looks like just because that's there, you're going to be able to go back down there again as a possible flanking route. So the fact that that might be there sounds cool. But I'm just wondering, will every little sight line actually be there? You know, we've all played, or at least a lot of us have played a lot of the original Modern Warfare 2. I personally have like 50 plus days of playtime. Like, I know those maps inside and out, and as I play on the maps, I remember certain rushing routes, certain lines of sight, certain tips and tricks that you can figure out on these maps to kind of give you an advantage. I wonder if all of that is going to be there, or maybe just some of it, or maybe none of it, depending on how they're going to go about things. Like on High Rise, going back to that, will the spawn snipe actually be available there? Will the new vehicles that are being placed on the maps, I did mention this, they mentioned that some of the vehicles on the maps are going to be placed in slightly different locations, or they're going to be different kinds of vehicles in general. You know, if you're playing on Favela, will the vehicles be in such a different position that it's going to make the maps feel different? Is that going to affect spawn grenades on rush routes in game modes like Search and Destroy, or even Team Deathmatch? Like, whenever I play on Favela and I spawn on the one side, I run right up that street, I chuck a Semtex, I blow up the car, and it usually gets me a kill. Like, that's something that's ingrained in my memory and my mind after playing Modern Warfare 2 for so long. So if that is slightly adjusted by the vehicle being slightly further back, or maybe the vehicle being stronger than the initial vehicle that we had had in the original game, that could fundamentally change up how the map is played for somebody like me personally. So it's all question marks right now. We're gonna have to see. I mean, as always, we're gonna have to wait and see, guys. But I will say the maps do look incredible, and they do look incredibly faithful. It does seem like there will be some changes. Like, I'm having a hard time right here checking out Quarry. Just off of memory, I'm not sure if that ramp was that wide that goes up to the building right here. I'm not sure it was that wide. It was wide enough, but that wide? I really can't quite remember. I'll try and find an image to lay over for you guys as I'm editing this video together. You know, little things like that. We're going to have to wait and see, but I am super excited about the fact that they actually gave us images and video footage of all of these multiplayer maps. They look incredible, and I can't wait to see how they're going to play out, and I truly hope that between now and October 5th, we get more details, more information, more stuff before the multiplayer reveal, because again, I don't want to wait till October 5th. I'm trying to run a YouTube channel here, and you guys obviously also as COD fans, like, you know, we want to hear about the game now. Let's talk about some of those weapons. Let's, you know, hear about the create class system, whether or not prestige mode is going to be there. Give us some info on that. There are so many questions that we have right now, and they're giving us a little bit of information bit by bit, and I suppose that's all part of marketing. But in general, you know, the maps look fantastic to me personally, and I would love to hear what you guys think down there in the comments. Thank you all so much for listening, and I hope you guys all have a wonderful day.